They make it so confusing. There it is. Now I see.
Ah, good.
All right,
Okay.
hold on. I'm going to share it to Temple.
Okay.
And nice to see everyone's faces. Ah, I see you right now. Here I go.
Okay, we are live almost. Welcome everybody. I just wanted to welcome you to Own Your Power to our third and last class tonight. So I am excited to talk to you a little bit tonight. I'm just gonna record right now. Okay, technical things are now taken care of. So we're gonna go over what this class has been, and even if you've joined us for the first time tonight, that's totally fine. You can still get so much out of this class. And you can go back also if you haven't seen the first two, and you can always email me or find it on the Temple Emmanuel page on Facebook. My name is Ariela HaLevi, and I am the co-founder of Soul Centered and the director of Healing, which is a spiritual center for healing and guidance. And through intuitive guidance and healing ancestral lineage wounds and energy healing, I guide women and men in the midlife and beyond area to heal the root source of their issues and live emotionally and spiritually and physically in freedom. And so for the last 3 weeks or the last 2 weeks, we've been discussing how to own your power. Own meaning really embracing and feeling empowered and feeling like you have a handle on difficult times. And this is definitely a difficult time for all of us. We have been in COVID for almost a year. A lot of us some have lost people. Some of us have had COVID ourselves. Some of us feel isolated. Some of us are overwhelmed with the amount of responsibilities and the things that we have going on in life. We have a lot of different things going on. And the invitation in this class is to feel like you have a handle on your life, to feel like you have tools. Hold on one sec. To feel like you have tools, to feel like you have the ability to get through life no matter what life handles us. So most of us have dealt with different things in our lives. It's not just pandemic. We've all gone through, I'm sure, losses, and some of us may have gone through illnesses. And so this is just like, in addition to everything else, we're going through this really crazy period of time. So let's figure out how to own our power in this third class. The first two classes we were discussing meditation. We've discussed making time for yourself. We have discussed embodiment and how to really feel like you are present in your body. We have also gone over, what is the other one we did last time? Mindfulness, how to be present in everything that life hands us. That's a hard one. We had a great talk last week about how to stay present when things are hard, how to find your peace. We talked a lot about peace and source, God inside of you when things feel difficult. So tonight we're going to talk about the last three. We're going to talk about empowerment. We're going to talk about manifesting, and finally we'll bring in meaning to kind of wrap it all up. So to start, we're going to talk about empowerment and what that means from a Kabbalistic Jewish point of view, and how to feel more empowered in your body so that you can feel like there's light within you. So many of us have lived most of our lives looking for the light outside of us. You know, when the darkness comes, we look outside. How are we going to turn on the lights? But the first step of empowerment is to turn on the light inside of you. And that's number one. So what I'd like to start with is a meditation. And meditation is always a beautiful way to kind of settle into ourselves inside of our bodies. So I'm going to invite you to close your eyes and to find a comfortable seat. And we're going to do a candle, kind of like a lighting meditation, to go inside of your body to find that light. And if you're not used to meditation, all you need to do is just sit and listen and just be with yourself. So closing your eyes And it's said that the Rabbi Nachman said, "My soul perceives your light. Let my body discern it too." And this idea is that your soul inside of you is filled with light. And so when we think of candles burning brightly, we imagine that candles are the window to our soul. And so when we close our eyes, we just start by breathing, just taking a deep breath. And our intention, our kavanah tonight, is to really light the candles inside of our body and our spirit, our soul. And so as you breathe deeply, you just take a deep breath. And as you inhale, imagine breathing in waves of healing light. And as you exhale, release it and let it go. And another deep breath as you inhale. Just allow this beautiful wave of light come into your body. And as you exhale, any tension, stress, any anxiety releases and letting it all go. And another deep breath, inhaling waves of light and exhaling, releasing, letting the breath go. And as you continue inhaling and exhaling, imagine a beautiful, almost like a menorah, a beautiful row of lights lit up inside of you. And that first illumination is in your face. And so imagine a beautiful candle, a beautiful light shining brightly through your eyes, into your mouth, into your nose, through your ears. And this light comes out through the top of your head and just lights your entire face and your head and your neck up with this divine light of your soul. And as you inhale and exhale, imagine that this beautiful light, this menorah of light, travels into your body so that every single part of that menorah, that beautiful light, is lighting up every single cell inside of your body so that your chest, your heart breathes in light, so that all of your organs, your lungs, your digestive system, your kidneys, your adrenal glands, every single organ is filled with the light of your soul, this beautiful candle, breathing in and out. And then as you exhale, this light travels through your arms and out through your fingers. And then it goes down through your hips, your legs, your knees, all the way through your feet, so that every bit of you, every cell, every part of your DNA is glowing with this beautiful light of love and peace and empowerment. And just as we did last week, remembering the midline of our body is the pathway for the Shekhinah, the divine feminine presence of God, to travel inside of our bodies. So imagine now a beautiful light from the head all the way down through your midline of your body and down through your toes, so that every part of your body is illuminated with the light of your soul. And just notice how your light dances, how each part of your body is filled so brightly that your cells become the color of the rainbow, the colors of the rainbow. And breathe in and fill your body with light. And when you're ready, become aware of your breath and the boundaries of your body. As you take a few more deep breaths in, long exhales out, allow yourself to be lit up once again from the inside out, and you can begin to open your eyes. And so just coming back and seeing how you feel in your body, maybe wiggling your toes and your fingers, and filling your body again, even though your eyes are open. Imagine just feeling that empowered light traveling through your body as we continue our class. And so I want to tell you a story that's not well known. Usually, we're not going to talk about Hanukkah tonight, but we're talking about light and empowerment. And that really reminds me of the Hanukkah story. But one hidden story of the Hanukkah is something that we don't usually hear about. It's the story of Judith. And you may have heard about her. We're going to talk about her and how she relates to empowerment and how she relates to this idea of finding the divine within so that you can be empowered and feel like you can handle your life and handle what life brings to you. So the story is that Judith was a young widow who lived in the time of the Maccabees. She entered into a camp to save her town. There was an impending siege in Jerusalem, and she entered in and she went into a tent and she charmed an army general. And he threw a feast in her honor, and she got him very drunk. Not really the typical story of the Maccabees, but and bear with me here. Here's the story. He was so intoxicated that it kind of disoriented him, and she killed him. She cut off his head. Again, not the pretty story of Hanukkah, not the one we want to tell our children to. However, there's a deep lesson in the story of Judith. And this lesson is to remember her courageous bravery as she went in and she saved her town from death. So this story doesn't just talk about her bravery. It's not about being brave and just going out and acting on everything we feel. What Judith did was she had a deep connection to the divine, a deep connection to the Shekhinah. The story says that before she entered the tent, before she entered the camp, she meditates. She meditates on the ravages of war. She meditates on the cost of war to people. She meditates on her plan. She prays and she meditates to God. And she looks to the divine for infinite wisdom and understanding in all things. She doesn't just act, she empowers herself from within, which is what we talked about in the beginning. She finds that empowerment within to give her strength to take guided action, to feel empowered in her life, to really, it's a brave thing that she did. She saved her town. So with the divine's help, she finds empowerment from within. And so we think about her, if you don't know the story, it's something to think about during Hanukkah when we light up our lives with the candles and think about the empowered story of Hanukkah. But from our point, when we go through something difficult, when we're in pandemic, when we're in something that feels hard, not even in pandemic, when you're in something that feels hard in your own life, the next step in oming our power is to feel empowered from within. And we can use this light from Judith, her story, to think about her bravery. And it takes courage to be a force of light. It's not something she did because she was just strong and she did it anyway. It's something she did because she knew there was darkness coming. She knew that it was dangerous. And she knew that with the connection to the divine, she could carry out this empowered act. So how do we feel when we feel that things are taking over us? When we feel life itself doesn't really give us permission to be that force of life? When we feel like this impending darkness, or when we've been in this darkness for so long that we don't see the path to light, how do we act? How do we find the permission to be empowered? So why do I just want to pause. If you have any questions, please feel free. For those of you that haven't been in class this whole time, feel free to chat, use the questions in the chat, but also I'm going to ask questions as we move forward. So I just want to make sure you know this is an engaged class, so feel free to pop in if you have questions. Excuse me. So why do we need permission to feel empowered? That's a funny word. Don't we just get to feel empowered? So most of us that have been through our life, we've been through a long period of our lives, we're at a certain age, we've had certain things that feel like that have been taken away from us. that make us feel probably less than, or fearful, or maybe anxious, or scared to really act on our empowered self. Or perhaps we've not given ourselves permission to fully feel that empowerment, and we're not taking guided action. So many times in life, we don't give ourselves permission, but other times we are not given permission by others to really feel empowered. A perfect example would be the beginning of COVID. I keep using COVID. Why? Because we're in it. But I can use many other examples. If you have any and you want to kind of throw out examples, feel free to in the chat. But a perfect example of not feeling empowered or given permission to feel empowered is, think about almost a year ago when we're in the middle of terror. We don't know if touching something is going to give us COVID. We can't see our loved ones. Some of us still can't. We don't know how to move. We can't even feel comfortable at the grocery store. Now, obviously, we don't still feel fully comfortable, but we've figured out how to navigate some things here. Beginning a pandemic, I just think of full force terror, where life, I'll give me as an example, life did not give me permission to feel empowered. I felt anything but empowered. I felt like I was a victim. And what happened to me, and I think I mentioned this in the first class, was that I had a couple of panic attacks because I felt so disempowered and scared that I felt that I could not act. It was like everything we did was tripping over each other, trying to make sure we were safe, but we didn't even know if we were safe. Very disempowering. So that was kind of life not giving us permission to feel empowered. So think about, as I name some of these things, think about times in your life or even now when you don't feel like you have the permission to feel like you can act and be fully in your body and feel empowered. So some of us, I would say all of us, have old beliefs, right? We're going to talk about that later on tonight. We have old beliefs. I can never do this. Usually it starts with I am. I am not smart. I am not good enough. I am not free enough. I don't have enough money. I am not prosperous, things like that, that don't give us permission to really live and really feel. Sometimes, it's, as I said, it's just fear. Sometimes we have depression or anxiety that makes us feel like there's a curtain over our heads, over our bodies, over our minds, and we can't act. Sometimes it's relationships that weigh us down. If you think about, I mean, even, I don't like using this example, for those of us that have children, there have been times when we have wanted to do things in life to make us feel more empowered, and we've had to make hard decisions based on our children as to how empowered we can be at this moment. We have to balance. It's not a bad thing, but we have to balance how we're going to act in life based on our responsibilities. Sometimes we've been overpowered. If you're someone who feels like you've been overpowered, bullied by others or by the voice in your head, that doesn't give ourselves permission to feel empowered. Or sometimes it's, as I said, relationships. Maybe it's from your past. So I'd like to do a little exercise. It's just a writing exercise. You do not need to share. I know it's kind of personal, but I want to ask you, first of all, what if you gave yourself permission to feel empowered? What would your life look like? What small steps could you take if you felt and you gave yourself permission to feel empowered, to feel like that Judith, like connected? Just take a guess. And then if you have a pen and paper near you, sometimes it's more empowering to write things down. So feel free to write things down, just whatever's at the top of your head. What if we gave ourselves permission to feel empowered? What things would change within you or in your life? So that's kind of number one. Yes, Steve, hold on. Let me just, would you unmute yourself if you have a question? Yes.
This kind of reminds me of a book I just started called The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale. And if you think you can, then you can.
Right.
So it's all a state of mind. If you feel empowered, then you can accomplish what you're empowered about.
I love that. And I think my husband has the book on his bookshelf and next door in my office here. We're big fans. And I believe you are correct that empowerment starts within, right? Just like we talked about your light is within you, and empowerment starts within. And there are times in our lives when we don't give ourselves permission, or we feel so underwater that we can't see where our light went. And so the key is to start within and look at your blocks. What are those things that are blocking? That's why I'm asking you, all of you, what are those things? If you gave yourself permission to shine, would your life look any different? That invites you to look at your inner life differently as well, right? You're right, Steve, it starts within. It's the power of positive thinking. But if you have a million limiting beliefs hanging over your head, we need to clear those weeds. I see limiting beliefs as weeds along the pathway to the divine or to empowerment. So that's why we're looking at, in what ways do we not give ourselves permission to really feel empowered? So from that question, who do you need to ask permission from to feel more empowered? So I want you to think about this question. In your life, kind of scan through your life, who have you needed to ask permission from, or who do you need to ask now? Now, your parents may be passed away for 30 years, but are you still asking your mom for permission to be more empowered, to take guided action, to be that person you want to be? I know in my head, my mom has been passed away for almost 3 years, and I'm still asking her once in a while, can I really do this? Can I really, there's things that naturally as parents we pass down to our children. You can't help it. You're human. We've all done that. So in what ways do you need permission to be more empowered, and from whom? And then I would encourage you, if you can take a moment to write that down. So here, I'll start it. I need permission from myself. That's often who it is, right? I need permission from myself to be more vulnerable. I need permission from my significant other to be what? To shine my light, to be more verbal, to be more open about my communication. We all do a dance with the people we love. I need permission from my children. I know that sometimes I need permission from my children to be more of a professional than wearing the mom hat. So sometimes I dance with that. So how do you dance with that with your children if you have children? So just think about, I need permission from the world right now, or from life, to be what? Sometimes, as we talked about, pandemic feels like, well, I can't travel. Well, I can't hug somebody. What do you need permission from the world to be? I need permission from the world to feel free, even though I don't always feel free. I need permission from the world to feel more like, I think it is freedom. Like if you feel trapped or isolated, I need permission from the world to be in freedom, even if I'm in my house all day long. It's what Steve said, it's the mind, it's the heart and the mind. So if anyone wants to, I encourage you to share, feel free. We had a lot of wonderful sharing last week. Again, we are on Facebook Live, so it's not a private share, but you can just throw words out if you feel comfortable. Just unmute yourself, but no pressure. Okay. Oh, hi, Steve. Yes.
So growing up, I had a very, very overbearing mother and grandmother. Mm-hmm. And so pretty much needed permission from them to do anything. Mm-hmm. And somehow that kind of spread to just about everybody I knew. You know, I was always trying to please people. I always needed their permission, you know, to be acknowledged. And
Yes,
so that
that's a big
that's
one.
pretty much the way it is.
That's a really big one. Thank you so much for sharing. It usually comes down to our parents, to our original state, you know, how we grew up, to really look at that relationship, no matter your age. And you think, like I needed a lot of permission from a parent that was either overbearing or underbearing. So it's both sides. An overbearing parent makes you feel like you don't have any control. And an underbearing parent makes you kind of feel out of control. So some kids kind of come closer into themselves and they don't spread their wings because they feel too out of control. So on both spectrums, we need permission. And that's something to really think about, you know, even beyond this class into your life today. I love that someone said you need permission to retire. It's permission from the world, permission from your family. How do you grant yourself permission to live in true empowerment? And so we're going to learn from that, but from one of these ways is to look first at who you need permission from. And underneath all the ways you don't give yourself permission to truly shine and to feel empowered, see if you can take guided action like Judith. So I always go back to her. I'm very connected to her. I always go back to her because she didn't just say, oh, forget all of, she didn't say, I'm just going to run in and attack. She had a plan. And not only did she have a plan, she had a plan with the divine. So we talked about this last week. How do you cultivate that plan, that relationship with the divine? That is the path to giving yourself permission to act, to feel empowered. Sit with yourself, sit in silence, write about it, journal about it, get help if you need a guide. But the whole key to feeling empowered is to shine that light. And we've learned, especially this year, is that life is short. So if you need permission from yourself to go out and do what you need to do, how can you take guided action tomorrow and today? I'll give you one more part of this as an example, and then we'll move on for the sake of time. Something that I do, here's an example of guided action. How do I know it's me, and how do I know it's the divine in me acting or telling or suggesting these things, right? That's really tricky. Is it my head? Am I crazy? So if you've ever had an idea that doesn't leave you, or a dream that doesn't leave you, that is usually the divine within you. If you are walking or sitting in meditation, or you're driving and all of a sudden you have this idea or a thought and it feels right on, see how your body feels. So for the example of this, my husband and I, we first got married. When we first got married 22 years ago, we missed a flight. We were just in deep conversation about these things that we're talking about now. We thought, one day we're going to open a retreat center, and this is going to be in the Colorado Rockies. And, 20 years later, we moved to Colorado, and that dream is still very alive. It has not changed. Our dream is to have retreats in the Rockies, and we were on our way and COVID hit. So, you know what? Think about those things that are threads. I call them soul threads. They don't leave you. This soul thread has been in me in different forms my whole life since I was a child. And the next step is to discern how this idea sticks. Does it stick? Do you get that aha moment? Feel it in your body. What does it feel like? Does it feel shut down, or does it feel open? So those are kind of the steps to empowerment, using Judith as an image, as a guide for us to kind of light our way. And yes, Steve.
When you say that the divine within,
Mhm.
how do you define divine? Is that
Yes.
God, or is it your soul, or?
So it's funny, we've been kind of playing with this word since the last two classes. So when I talk about the divine, I talk about God. And my teachings and my studying has led me to this idea that God has different forms. The Shekhinah is a divine feminine presence of God. I've done a lot of work on Kabbalah. So when I think of God, there's a book called God in Your Body. It's a very simple, wonderful book. It's a great book. I don't remember who wrote it. Probably have it here somewhere. It's a great book. And it's really this idea that all the prayers and all the Jewish rituals are inviting us to recognize that the divine God is within us. We think of, especially as Jews often, we think of like God in the sky. That is a normal progression into Yom Kippur. God as the Father, God as big, and God as judge. But day to day, God is the Shekhinah, the divine feminine. This is a working relationship. I found in my Jewish studies that I was frustrated sometimes at the lack of teaching of God inside and around us. So last week we talked about, and somebody said, well, I can't really imagine God in my body. Like, that's just all new to me. And I said, well, do you know when you feel peace in your body? And she said, yes, I know when I feel peace. And I said, well, that is the step. That's divine. When you feel aligned and you feel peace in your body, that is the idea of God in your body. Does that help, Steve? Okay. So let's take this next step into empowerment. We go to manifesting. That's kind of there's 7 steps. This is the 6th step. To manifest your empowerment. So you feel empowered. We connect with the divine. We connect with the Judith inside of us. We're feeling empowered. What do we do with it? It's not enough to just sit in it. It's the idea is tikkun. Tikkun is taking it out. Tikkun olam, healing the world, doesn't start with us. It starts with us feeling empowered, but there's building blocks to manifesting it, to bringing it to fruition. We're not put on this earth to just feel good, right? We're put on this earth to feel good and empowered and spread the light. Like the Hanukkah candles, we spread the light. So from this place of Judith, we connect with the divine within us, the God within us, and we bring it out. And so Rabbi Isaac Luria, he's known as the Ari, the lion, he talks about tikkun, healing or bringing this manifestation out, as being the place in which we co-create and unify with the divine, with God. So it's empowerment, and then it's co-creating with God, or whatever word you feel comfortable with, because we've used a lot of different words. It's co-creating and unifying. So the greatest unification is a culmination of all the steps we talked about to go into manifesting. We talked about meditation, making time for yourself, finding mindfulness, embodying it, empowerment. And now what do we do with it? We bring it out. We're co-creators with the universe. And so let's talk about this for a moment. The first 5 steps we've talked about are very feminine in nature. I'm not talking about male, female. We all have feminine and masculine qualities. The first 5 steps were very feminine. They were going within. This next step of tikkun, of manifesting, is masculine. It's a masculine approach. The masculine approach is to go out into the world and create. And so this idea of the Shekhinah, the divine feminine, we've been talking about her the whole time. She rests in the middle of our body, that midline. She is also seen as very masculine. She is seen as there's a midrash that talks about a story that in the Torah that talks about this idea that she is placed in front of all these armies in Egypt. And she is the divine leader in the army protecting the Jewish people. So she is known as this divine fury, a disciplinarian, a chief educator. She is the mother, but she is not one that sits back. She goes out into the world and she protects and she creates. And so creation happens when we manifest out into the world. There's so much more I could say, but I don't want to lose our time here. So we are going to talk about the Shekhinah and where she resides in the body. So God in the body is this idea at the bottom. So if we talk, we're not going to get into the Sphirot, which is the tree of life inside of us. I'm just going to touch on one center inside of our body. If you think about this masculine idea of the body, we're going to talk about the lower part of our body. If you've heard of chakras, in the energy centers of the chakras, the lower part of your body is about moving things forward in life. It's about creation. It's about being a human being in this life. Human beings are about manifesting. We're about going out into the world and being who we are supposed to be. And so Malchut, if you've heard of Malchut is just a part of the tree of life inside of you. It's where things get done. That's all you really have to know. It's where creation happens. It's at the lower part of your body. And it's where life happens. It's where the Shekhinah acts. And so the way that I like to see it is, if you think about thought, speech, and deed, in the center of our body at the root, it's kind of at the root of your spine. It's this idea that we bring out into the world our thoughts. So just like Steve said, your thoughts are pretty important. We have negative thoughts, we have positive thoughts, but your thoughts are pretty darn important. And if you have these great ideas and you're manifesting all this empowered ideas and you're thinking about how you want to shape your family and your future and your world and your work, then the next idea is to bring your thought out into action. How do you do that? Through speech. We bring it out through speech, divine speech. Speech is a tool for manifesting. If you are interested in feeling empowered in this crazy world we live in, and you want to manifest, whether it's manifesting retirement or it's manifesting feeling good in your body and your spirit, the next step is to speak it. How are you going to speak about, I'm just using retirement as an example. How are you going to speak about your desire for retirement? Does it come out as, and I'm not picking on the person that talked about retirement, I'm just using it as an example because it's a good one. Does it come out as like, oh, I don't know if I can retire. I don't feel I'm nervous, I'm scared. Of course you feel scared. But does your speech also represent that light within you? It's time for me to retire. These are the things I want to do with my retirement. This is, wow, I had a divine thought. This is the plan I want to take out into the world after retirement. I want to do, what is the list you want to make? We all have the bucket list, but make it a meaningful bucket list. What do you want to do with the rest of your life? That's a really big question, but it's really super important for us. And speech is the way to get there. Who can you speak to? You can speak to God. In part of the things that part of the way that I work with people in my sessions privately, we do a lot of speaking, because speaking is a holy act. It can be an unholy act, but speaking is the place of where creation really truly begins. And so when you speak about those vulnerable places inside of you, life is not always positive. When you speak about what hurts, when you speak and become more vulnerable about what you want to create after retirement, you start to bring it into divine action and you clear your body of the fears. Does that make sense? So speaking is very holy. One of the examples I like to use when I'm talking about manifesting with speech is to clear the weeds. You got to always clear the weeds. before you feel empowered, you also have to deal with the limiting beliefs that you have, the disempowering beliefs. If you're all excited about retirement, but you're unsure of yourself, who do I need permission from? I don't know if I can make it out on my own. I don't know if I can financially handle it. I don't know if I feel comfortable in the world not working. Who am I if I'm not in my job? So then the step into manifestation is to clear your path. Speak about what hurts you. Speak about what pains you. Speak about those things that make you feel less than. When we're sitting here in the middle of a pandemic, what makes you feel scared? I'm just using pandemic and retirement. What makes you feel scared about your world? What makes you feel scared about the inside of your body? Do you have health issues? Do you have other issues going on? What are those limiting beliefs? Yes, Steve. I love your questions. Thank you.
When you say speak, do you mean actual talking, or do you mean writing down, or what?
Good question. Good question. You know, so I would say both. Journal writing is a wonderful way to get your innermost limiting beliefs and your feelings out. If you like to write and you feel comfortable writing on a piece of paper, I don't really find that writing on a computer gets your stuff out. So really putting the pen to paper really does help. What I found in my professional world and my personal world is that speaking out loud, if you've ever been, like, let's say you had someone who passed away, or you have someone who's ill in your family, or you're ill and you've been to your knees. Have you ever been to your knees where you're like, please God, help me? You know, those moments, like we all know those moments. That's kind of what I mean. Speaking out loud on a daily basis, getting used to having a dialogue with yourself and with the divine is really cool. It takes some practice and it feels really funny, but speech gets everything that's inside of your cells up and out. So practice with it. This is a practice. I think I've used this last week. I do a lot of dog walking. I love my dog. And I go to Lowry Dam, and especially now it's freezing, so there's nobody there. And it's a daily practice that I do where I put my headphones in just in case I see somebody, they think I'm crazy because I'm speaking out loud. And I start talking. And I have a deep relationship with God. Why? Because I've cultivated it, just like I've cultivated my deep relationship with my husband. So I start talking. I'm scared of this. I don't know if I can handle this. This feels really scary. I don't know where I'm going with this. I start having a dialogue. Feels really funny at first because no one's talking back to you, but it gets it up and out of your body. That's how you clear your path. Or you journal write. That's another way. And then pretty soon what I find is that all that junk that's in there, those limiting beliefs, all that junk, they go away. They get smaller. And suddenly I'm talking to the divine and I'm saying, thank you, God, for my family. Thank you for helping me take guided action in my life. Thank you for my health. Thank you that I'm able to see the blessings in my life, because yesterday I couldn't. Yesterday was like a bad day. Today I can see it. Every day is different. So pretty soon, once you talk about all the stuff that you're afraid of, it gets smaller and the goodness can start coming out. And that's how you manifest. You clear your weeds. It's like clearing your garden. If you ever have a garden, those weeds can get out of control. Right? I mean, I had a garden last year. If I didn't look at it every single day, the weeds were out of control. That's your limiting beliefs. Clear the weeds and watch your garden grow. That's divine speech. What I would love to do is an exercise with you, but it might take us over the 8 o'clock hour, and I really want to make sure we're on time. So I think what I'll do is, I really want to do it. Let me just check in. Okay, I'm going to do a shortened version because I really want you to experience it. Okay, so let's just do a moment, and let me. I'm going to have you close your eyes if you will. And so as fast as you can, think about a limiting belief that you have. Usually it starts with I am. And imagine putting that limiting belief in your right hand. So open your right palm and just imagine I am whatever it is, and close your palm and let it sit in your right palm. And now think about that limiting belief and what it feels like. And what if it had a shape, what would it look like? And if it had words, what would it say to you? You're stupid, you can't be anything, you're always going to feel bad. What would it continue to say to you? Okay, so just really feel how bad it feels. Really feel how dark it feels. We all have it. And then keeping your right fist closed, open your left hand. And let's replace it with a statement that feels much, much better. I am light. I am capable. I am strong. What comes to your mind to counterbalance this negative thought? And close your fist once you have it, close your left hand, and feel how it feels to be in this left palm with that positive thought. Let it get bigger and brighter. And notice the color. Notice the shape. And what does your body and your spirit say to you when it believes this belief? Feel yourself get expansive. And then take a deep breath and open both palms and join your palms together. This is called integration. And bring both palms to your heart. And know that you're human, and that part of the reason why we bring the right hand into our heart is because it's gentle forgiveness. Let that negative belief just disintegrate, but know that it's human to have it. And let the left hand, which has the beautiful new belief, integrate into the right. So much so that it becomes all light, that it becomes more expansive. Let that positive quality grow inside of you, so big that it takes away those weeds, that it's a beautiful flower blossoming in your heart center. And so take a deep breath and know that you can come back to this place. This is an interesting exercise to really dump all of those negative beliefs into your palm and feel how it feels. And then to feel the opposite. And then in the end, you integrate both to really love and forgive and accept yourself, and let that bigger, brighter, positive quality overpower that negative one. And then take a deep breath in. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. And just notice how you feel. And feel free, you can comment if you want to in the comments, or out loud. Just see how was that for you? Good? Good. Awesome. Okay. Our last step in oming your power, and really this is like a culmination of all the 6 steps, is to make meaning. So we've gone through all these steps. And when we're faced with challenges, tragedies, hardships, life, right? Life is constantly a roller coaster. We come to the last step, and it's the power of choice. It's to choose our response to what life brings to us and make meaning from the hard stuff and the good stuff, because there's both. So in the end, I have a quote from Viktor Frankl. But before I say that, regardless of our circumstances, we always have a choice. You may feel trapped in your mind, You may feel trapped in your decision makings. You may feel trapped in pandemic. You may feel trapped in what the world has brought to you right now. But even in the most difficult circumstances, we have a choice. And it is what Steve said. It's to choose your attitude and your response to your circumstances and your way forward in life. So Viktor Frankl, Holocaust survivor, author of Man's Search for Meaning. He's got, I'm sure you've heard of him, many, many books. He reminds us, and I'll quote, that everything can be taken from a person except this. Remember, he was a Holocaust survivor. Everything can be taken from a person except this: the freedom to choose our response to whatever life brings to us or takes from us. Once we come to understand and embody this one core concept, we are truly free. Nothing outside of us can ever deter us. No circumstance can dictate how we respond. This is the only thing we ever truly own, our power to choose. This becomes the only thing we ever really need. It's a really strong statement. To choose your life and your response to make meaning out of hard situations and good situations. I want to make sure we talk about the joy, because sometimes we miss the joy. We don't want to miss the joy, but it's easier to make meaning out of joy because it's happy and it makes us feel good. That's so much easier. So we choose in all of our circumstances. There's another wonderful book, if you haven't heard of it, Edith Eva Edgar, The Choice. It's called The Choice. Amazing book. Yes. It was life-changing for me. This one, and also Viktor Frankl, is a life-changing to think about. We are sitting in our homes right now, and thank goodness most of us are safe. But to think about the power to choose, God forbid, in a Holocaust, like that to me it always gets me. It always gets me. So when I think about that, my mom of blessed memory and my stepfather of blessed memory, they had a running line for 30 years of their marriage. When life got tough, they would turn to each other and they would say, Viktor Frankl. And this was their reminder that he came out of the Holocaust with a choice, and he responded and wouldn't let them touch his soul. So this is the power of making meaning, is to choose your circumstances, is to choose how you respond to your circumstances, no matter what. And so I like to take it a step further. And I also say that when we think about empowerment and manifesting and making meaning in our lives and choosing to respond, the next step for that has always been for me is, how can I serve? It's a really important question, especially if we feel stuck, lost, anxious, confused, fearful, depressed, etc. We can, yes, Steve, I love your questions.
Sorry. When you say choose, I'm not sure exactly what you mean. Like,
right. So when I say choose, I mean that even when we feel like we don't have choices, let's say in this set of circumstances right here, it feels like we have no choice. In some ways, let's say someone, God forbid, had an illness. There is a choice in that you can get treatment, or if there's no treatment, you can do palliative care. I mean, we have choices within that wiggle room. But yes, the original diagnosis, this is the diagnosis. The choice comes in how we respond. We choose to respond. How do you respond to pandemic? Do you hole up in your house? Maybe you need to. Maybe you have an autoimmune condition that forces you to be very isolated. Okay, so let's take that situation. Somebody who has an autoimmune condition or an illness needs to choose to stay in her house. So how does she choose to respond to staying in her house? She can feel extremely depressed, which is normal. She can also choose to feel depressed and then choose to respond to that depression. Maybe she gets help. Maybe she, whatever it is, there's always a choice. If you're alive, then you have a choice to respond to your aliveness. Does that make sense?
And
Okay.
could you tell me again who wrote the book, The Choice?
Yes, it's Edith, Edith, Eva, Eva, Edith, Eva Edgar. I think it's Edger or Ar. She's 92, I believe. She has a Facebook page. I'm sure she doesn't run it herself, but I know her family's very, very involved. She has a beautiful story, and I would highly recommend it. I believe she may have another book out or coming out as well.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Steve, did I answer your question?
You did.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So part of that choice is asking, how may I serve? How may I serve in my retirement? How may I serve? How do I serve next? How do I choose to respond to the idea of retirement? How can I serve? How can I help still? How can I shine my light out to the world, even, or all the more so in retirement? As another example. Yes.
Okay. Sorry.
It's okay.
So when you say serve, what do you mean by serve?
So when I say serve, I wake up every morning and I say to the divine, to God, how may I serve you? So it's a way for me to step out of myself and to serve something greater than myself, because I don't always know what's best for me. Sometimes we make bad decisions. I've made plenty. So my way of saying, how may I serve, is to get out of ourselves, our little self, and to be in our bigger self, which is our spirit or our soul, that soul that is connected to the divine. Your soul is automatically connected to the divine. It's our humanness that gets in the way. So how may I serve? How may I serve in my relationships? How can I look at my relationships as a way of serving? So what I mean by that is, what does this person need from me right now? How can I listen? How can I see that person as if the divine or God is in her body or his body? How can I best be there for that person? Even in an argument, how can I bring my highest self? Now, you're going to miss the mark because we all do. We're human. How can I best serve in the work that I do? I know it's 8 o'clock. How can I best serve in the work that I do? How can I do it in a way that serves the higher good, that reaches the most people, that makes the biggest difference in life? It doesn't mean you have to be, a famous person. You can serve on such a small level and make a huge difference, mostly to the people that are closest to you. I find that's the greatest service. The people you wake up next to, the people that you are with every single day, how can you serve? That will help you bring great meaning to your life. And it helps you get out of yourself. So in conclusion, because I don't want to keep you. First of all, it's been wonderful. Even if you just joined or you've been with me the whole time, it's been wonderful to find our way through oming your power in a pandemic and to really find these tools to help you serve and to connect you and to help you find that space in your life that you need to connect with yourself and with God and with others. It's time to really find meaning in this crazy world that we live in. And I hope that this class helped you in a small way or a large way to really move forward, feeling empowered, feeling like you can manifest what's going on inside of you into a greater light, and how to chop down those weeds, right? How to really focus on those weeds and pull them out so that your path is clear, so you can grow those flowers. So I just want to thank all of you for being here and for being so willing to be open and ask questions. I so appreciate it. I will be doing more with Temple Emmanuel. I'm honored to be with Temple Emmanuel, and I just, this is my second year teaching with them. And please let me know if you have any questions. I did give you at the last class my website and my email. So I will do it one more time. Okay, I'm going to do that. And then if you go on to I told you this before, but if you go on to my website, you can find a complimentary Own Your Power program my husband and I created. It's not Kabbalistic. This is more Kabbalah that we did, but it's just a way to kind of just help you along. I find that the tools are really nice and necessary, especially now. So feel free to do that. If you have any questions at all, if you want to talk to me privately, if you want to schedule a complimentary session, if you have any comments about the class, feel free to email me. It's been a real huge pleasure being with everyone tonight. Are there any questions at all?
Thank you. It's been wonderful.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you.
This was great. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Steve. And Steve, if you want to go back and join the last two, you can also see those to see what we discussed.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. All right, everyone, have a beautiful night, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you.
Sure.